why anxiety, pain, fear still isn't leaving you. You find your place in being. You rest in being. You just observe. You sit back and observe. But the pain just isn't going. The fear persists. Different forms of suffering, previous trauma, future anxieties, these are all still bubbling up. And it's not allowing me to be present. It's not allowing me to rest in being. How do I stop the pain? How do I stop the fear? Simply allowing it to be. Simply allowing whatever arises to be. Emotional trauma, the pain, the mental suffering. Is really a way in which you can deal with this. But if we take for an example a cloud, a big dark cloud, massive, across the sky, and this cloud is covering the sun, and so we are not feeling the heat, the warmth and the light of the sun. And so we try all sorts of different things to try and bring this cloud down. But in time, the cloud will precipitate. The cloud builds up, and then it rains. But the problem here is that you may not like the rain either. And so you'll do everything to shelter yourself from the rain when it does rain. But in sheltering yourself from the rain, you are still denied the warmth, the heat, and the light from the sun. And this is the same with trauma, with psychological entanglements, with any form of suffering that we may feel. We are able to rest and recognize that we are not the body, not the thoughts, not the emotion. And whilst recognizing that we are not the emotions, we want the emotions to leave because they are so painful. They still hold such a massive weight. We want them to leave. And as the emotions precipitate or bubble up, we cover ourselves away from it, i.e., we try to still avoid it. There needs to be a sincere and deep acceptance. If there is no deep, sincere acceptance or embracement of whatever arises, whether we like it or dislike it, whether we agree or disagree, it will still carry some form of weight. There will still be sprinkles of identification in these emotions. And so as you rest in being and this fear arises, okay, there is fear. What's this fear trying to do? It's trying to protect you. I'm pretty sure that's what fear is here for, right? If there's a lion, and the lion hasn't eaten for 3 weeks, and it's just there in front of me, salivating with its mouth wide open, I better damn be scared. I better feel fear, because this fear will hopefully protect me. It will hopefully inspire some immediate reaction so that I could either escape or something, if you can even escape a lion. So if the fear is there to protect you, can we appreciate that? Can we appreciate, can we find a small sprinkle of appreciation of the presence of fear? It doesn't matter why the fear is there. Can we appreciate the fear for what it is? Okay. Where is this fear trying to go? Let's observe it deeper. Let's feel it more intensely. Let's see. Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's be showered in the precipitation. Let's be completely drenched and absolutely wet from the rain. That's fine. You are still here though. And the very fact that you are able to observe such thing as fear, the very fact you are able to recognize such thing as fear means that you are not the fear. You are that which is recognizing the fear. And so some anxiety comes up. Anxieties of the future, or just a series of overthinking, a series of mind just wanting to explode with all these different thoughts and trying to figure it out, trying to sort something out, trying to figure out most likely that which you cannot figure out anyway, or cannot be figured out. You might be dealing with a koan. If I clap my hands, which hand is making the sound? If asking this question long enough can take you into anxiety because you're trying to figure it out, but at the same time you know you've set yourself up to trying to answer a question that cannot really be answered. So hopefully that is a recognition that the mind or the intellect is a tool to be used, but not in every aspect of life, not in every question. If I'm taking a walk through the park, the mind may be active with what happened yesterday, may be active within the realm of memory and thoughts and opinions, and that's fine. That's okay, but we are taking steps, we are walking, we are seeing, we are hearing. There is seeing, there is hearing, there is sensations, there is something happening. And so we can observe what is happening. There might be pain, there might be a deep sense of hatred towards people, towards things. I don't know why, but I hate. There's so much hatred towards something, and I can see that. I can see that there is hatred. And I don't want it to be there. That's fine, you may not want it to be there, but it seems to be there. So let's dive into the bottom of this. Why is there hatred? Who is sending hatred? Is there now hate because there is hatred? Are we spiraling into hatred? Is this the reason why there is so much pain? There's tightness? And so then we observe this hatred. Perhaps we can recognize that the most of the hatred or hate or resentment is directed at that which is doing the hatred and the hate. How can hatred be dissolved if there is not a sprinkle of forgiveness, a sprinkle of mercy? As we said earlier, if there's fear, we say okay. If there is a deep sense of hatred, okay. It's okay. there needs to be acceptance and embracement, a deep, sincere acceptance and embracement through and through. Now, acceptance and embracement does not mean agreeing or disagreeing, does not indicate a preference. Of course, if we find ourselves in an entanglement, in a conflict with another individual, this is not a preferred situation. There is no preference of, particular preference of wanting to hear, or I do not prefer someone to say nasty things about me over someone saying nice things about me, for example. But acceptance implies that this is the situation that's happened. We have surrendered to the fact that this is happening right now. And if there is the slightest denial of something taking place, anything, whatever appears in reality, is taking place, which could be a conflict with a particular individual or a conflict within ourselves. If there's the slightest of denial, then for sure, can we not reconcile with what is happening? And so really the acceptance and embracement, it's not the same as agreement or disagreement. It's acknowledging that this is a situation that's happening. It's admitting that this is something that's happening. Because that now creates space and the platform for the reconciliation, for solving what is happening. So, in that same sincerity that we have when we accept and embrace through and through, in that same sincerity, we can be sincere and honest with ourselves in recognizing that a lot of overthinking and a lot of the persistent emotions are actually there because we are in the avoidance of accepting and embracing what is happening. One particular thing that I did in the past, myself, is when I lied to someone, maybe several years ago, and I did this very early in my journey. When I lied to someone, I felt the impact that this lie could have. I felt the pressure of holding this lie on my shoulders. There's this particular weight. And so I took it upon myself to just pick up the phone, call this person, and say, hey, remember when I told you that I had $3 million under my bed when we were 12? Yeah, that's bullshit. I don't have that. Now, most often the response of the person would be, oh, really? I thought so, but it's okay. I'm glad you could tell me that, or whatever the response is. But in essence, that weight of the fake $300 million you have to carry just falls off now. It's gone. It's extremely freeing. And so if you also have some sort of conflict with a family member, a loved one, or anyone, reaching out without the intention of trying to instigate some sort of conflict or trying to spiral into it even further, but just stepping down and saying, hey, look, I have done so and so, and I apologize for doing that. I was not in the right mind state. I should not have done that. So please forgive me. And they may very well have had a whole load of things that may have hurt you in turn, but it's okay. We can develop forgiveness. We can develop mercy. And then it's up to them. We have done what we needed to do. We have forgiven them, which, by the way, is more for you than for the other individual. But in essence, this is all take this as an analogy for how we are observing the situation that takes place here. Whether it's anxiety, fear, pain, any form of suffering. It's okay. We approach it with arms wide open so that we may understand, so that we may find a tiny sprinkle of appreciation, so that we may understand and dissolve or allow any form of hardened, clogged up, rubbish. Okay, maybe not rubbish, but clogged up emotions in the form of trauma in our heart. We allow this to dissolve and fall away, so that our heart may be light as a feather, transparent and sweet. But in essence, however big the cloud may be, however dark it may be, however long you may feel like it's been there for, allow it to precipitate and be drenched in the water. And don't shy away from it. It takes courage, it takes faith. But it will work out eventually. Thank you so much for watching. This is Hassan from the Spiritual Walks, and we are all on a journey towards the truth.